Sporting Goods. I've run down most of my gas. I do have some money to get gas now, thank goodness.
Turn left onto Stillwell Avenue, then turn right onto 1st Street. In 300 feet, turn left onto 5th Street. Turn left onto 5th Street. In 600 feet, turn left onto Pacific Avenue. Turn left onto Pacific Avenue.
I'm going to spend $2 of those
Take the next
dollars
left onto 5th Street, then turn left onto Pacific Avenue.
that I got. I'm going to go waste it on coffee.
Take the next left onto 6th Street, then turn left onto Pacific Avenue.
I probably shouldn't, but I have permission to do so with it.
In 400 feet, turn left onto 8th Street.
On the bright side, I'm not Jeff LeSueur or Dylan LeSueur. Those are two scallywags from Boulder, Colorado that kind of screwed up a bit. Shit, I better turn off my car. It's starting to overheat already, and I don't have the money to get more fluids to put in it. Fuck. I'm physically disabled, and I get $822 a month to live on. $822. You can't live anywhere in the United States anymore. Anywhere. Especially when you got a shitty housing situation repeatedly, where you're forced to live with basically anybody who will take you, which is primarily alcoholics and drug addicts, because, well, they can't afford their alcohol and their drugs and their rent. Luke, what up? Still breathing. I said I'm still breathing.
Oh, yeah.
Making a video about how stupid people are.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. Straight up, huh?
It's a lot of fun being homeless, being treated like an animal.
Yeah, huh? Fucking damn it.
Luke?
Yep.
I try to record everywhere for my safety. Yeah, I went to Astoria. Yeah, it's right up on the Washington border. It was absolutely no fun.
Barbecue and beef. No, just the barbecue. But they're beef, I think. No, it's just the barbecue. Oh. Yeah, two of them. You got 10 cents, bro?
I certainly do.
Oh, 38. Oh, so just 8 cents? That's fine. Oh. Thank you, Joe.
Absolutely, positively. Keep the change. Use it on your next one.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thank you, pals.
Hello.
Oh, this. Anything else?
No, sir, that is all. And thank you for being pleasant as always. You rock. All right, so all those who work here, I feel bad for. There's a reason for that. A lot of people in this town want to pretend that they're all Muslims and that their culture is based on rape. It's not the case. I can actually look something up on my phone about that. Alright. So we'll explain something here. When it comes to the Middle East, Muslims, Arabs, and the like, how much do you really know? We'll see if we can get it to play.
Hi, my name is Kitten, and I'm a Sikh. You might not be very familiar with what that means, but let me break it down. Let's start with the word Sikh. Sikh means disciple or student. As Sikhs, we're constantly learning in our spiritual path. In Sikhism, our teachers are Guru Nanak, the founder of our religion, and the 9 spiritual teachers called Gurus who came after him. Our divine scriptures are collected in the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, which we believe is our eternal spiritual teacher. Our beliefs center on the existence of one God for all of creation, a loving creator, and connection with God is attainable through meditation upon and remembrance of God's name. As Sikhs, we're called upon to lead moral lives, earn our living through hard work and honest means, to uphold justice for all, and to share the fruits of our labor charitably. Sikhism is the 5th largest religion in the world, and today there are 30 million Sikhs around the world. So now you know more about what it means when I say my name is Gideon, and I'm a Sikh.
Just saying. When it comes to a lot of the different religions, just like I was trying to explain to you, here in Tillamook, people have their own ideas about the different peoples. They have their own ideas about what black people are, what Arabs are, what Muslims are. For me, being in this town and getting to hear about how the people who run the center market are some sort of horrible monsters because they were naturally born that way, that is completely wrong. It is off base. I've seen the people here, all of the people who work here are kind to me. Now, when you run a business in a town where many people, this is a KKK town, like I said. When you live and work and operate in a town like that, you get a lot of people who come in and they steal your goods. You're not trying to harm people. You're not trying to hurt people. You're just trying to run a business. And you got people who come in and they just want to steal from you because they can. Because nobody's really going to do anything about it. Now, a lot of the people here who work here, they talk to me like I'm a person. All of them talk to me like I'm a person. They don't treat me like I'm everybody else out here. They don't treat me like I'm somebody who's stealing from them. They don't treat me like any less of a human being than I treat them. And I like that. That's something I'm not used to out of the Christian community. Many of the people who want to talk about how horrible these people are, how they look this way or they look that way or they look like they would do bad things. Well, they're not doing bad things, though. And what is it about the way that somebody looks that makes you assume they're going to do bad things? What, you see somebody with brown skin and you assume they were all involved in 9/11? You see somebody with brown skin, you just assume they all hopped the border to get here illegally? You see somebody with brown skin, you think, oh, they must be a rapist or a murderer? Well, that's complete insanity. That is total insanity. Now, I do pay attention to a lot of different religions, and when somebody tells me about a religion that I'm not aware of, I want to learn everything I can about it. Sorry, there's some folks over there that are talking and they're allowed. When I travel to a new place, one of the things I pay attention to is how the people there treat others. There are a lot of people here who have been kind to me that have said some hateful things about my people. Hateful and angry things, malicious things, but they're still nice to me. How many of the people who have talked trash about Jews in this town are aware that I'm of Hebrew descent? How many of the people who talk trash on Germans or Russians are aware that I'm also part Russian, part German? We all came from somewhere. When you hate somebody because they're an immigrant, or because they're a different color skin than you, or a different gender, or a different religion, you're not taking the humanity away from those people. You are taking humanity away from yourself. You are not diminishing them as human beings. You are diminishing yourself. Those are the sounds of family activities. I don't know what language they're speaking. I can't hear it very well. But what I do know is that you can tell vocally and tonally how people are interacting and why they're interacting. You can tell vocally whether there's a problem or not, no matter what language it's in. If someone is screaming help, you should know that they're screaming help, no matter what language they're saying it in, because of the tone that they're going to use if they need help. Now, one of the things, I grew up in the system. In many of the places, most of the kids I was with were black kids. In some of those places, like Washington State, it was more likely to be Native American kids, Hispanic kids, and especially Asian kids in Washington State. So I got to grow up with a lot of different people of different colors, different religions, different ideals, and also different cultural trends. When I went to Lincoln High School in Tacoma, Washington, it was an 81% minority high school. That means that 81% of the people there were minorities. Just a little over 18% of them were white. And I remember a lot of the white kids in art class, very eclectic about what many of them were into. Some of them were into pottery, some of them were into drawing, some of them were into different types of sculpting. But I remember there was a lot of Cambodian kids, a whole lot of them. Many of them, their families came over here after Vietnam, or even during Vietnam. There's been a big insurgence of Vietnam veterans who felt horrible for the Montagnard. These are the native peoples of Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Not sure if you've ever heard of those countries. When Vietnam War was lost, almost 10,000 Vietnam veterans took part in a homecoming celebration, so to speak. They came home. Some of them smuggled people home with them and created basically a underground railroad to get the Montagnard out of Laos, out of Cambodia, out of Vietnam. Many of those people ended up here in Oregon or just north of here in Washington State. I remember in art class in Lincoln High School that the thing that was popular culturally with them Cambodian kids was anime. Had kids in our class that were drawing, Wolverine from the comic books. There was Sung Mi Kim, and she liked to sing. And I don't mean that as in her name rhymes with it. It's not pronounced the same. It's not spelled the same. It's just something she enjoyed doing. And then there was Van Nguyen. Nguyen. First name Van. V-A-N. He was the best artist in our class. This is my freshman year of high school at Tacoma, Washington. He was good. He mostly focused on anime and cartoon drawing. But he could draw a person just as good as I can. Or could have. Before I got injured. Anyway, I gotta get out. Start my car again. Travel my happy ass down to Tillamook Sporting Goods parking lot and park for the night. Tomorrow I do plan on keeping my word to go to the Kingdom Hall. I was going to do that with Priscilla in Cheyenne, Wyoming, but her temporary boss doesn't like hobos. And also felt that the safe place policy in Starbucks only applied to homosexuals. He was offended that I existed. Imagine that. So I didn't go with Priscilla. Before that, Brianna Hernandez Cordona wanted me to go to the Kingdom Hall. I told her I'd go. Of course, that was when the situation happened with Devin Cockrell there at the Starbucks. And guess what? Nobody ended up dead. Y'all underestimate the power of life. You also tend to not care about other human beings who are different from you. Maybe you're afraid of people with beards. Maybe you're afraid of people with a lighter complexion. When a woman is abused by one person, she's allowed to hate all people for the rest of her life. My mother claims that she was raped by a Mexican once. She hates all Mexicans as a result. She believes that rape is a part of their culture. She also hates all men. Now, don't get me wrong, I do understand being a victim of sexual assault repeatedly and ongoing as a child. I understand why it is that my mother would not like men after being raped by her own father repeatedly. However, to blame all men because your dad did that, to blame all Mexicans because one man did that to you. Meanwhile, my mom is one of the most promiscuous people I know. She was promiscuous, so was Jerry Sparks, so was Lanny Engeline, so was Jamie Curtis. quite promiscuous. That means they like to sleep around, but we're not talking about sleeping. Now, it's okay for women to be like that, isn't it? If we accept a woman being like that, does that make it okay? See, most guys stop doing that "you're a hoe" thing after high school. They're already sick of it. If you're going to be a hoe, instead of calling you a hoe, they're just going to leave. If your man is being a hoe, you can leave too. Many of the women I know are with men who cheat on them frequently. And these women can't really do anything about it because they're depending on these men's paychecks. They're depending on these men's houses and cars. Many of the people spreading the most hateful things in this town are women who claim to be Christian. I've read the Bible. I've also read the Quran. I've read the Torah. If you've read the Bible, you've read most of the Torah, anyway. How many of you Christians can name off the books of the Torah that are not in the Bible? Anyway, I am not only open with my own religion, science, but I do enjoy it when people entrust me with their religions and are free about their religions. After going and sitting with the Mormons, I realized they're not really for me. Their sermons are just words, empty words. Now, one of the things that I recently learned was about pronunciations. Sikh. The woman who spoke that thing there, she's an American, obviously. And she pronounces it Sikh. S-I-H-K. Or S-I-K-H. I can't remember which. That makes me a horrible person. Right? Well, no, it just means that I'm ignorant, that I didn't retain all of the information, and that I need to look it up again. Nobody's going to expect you to remember every single thing that you read in your history book, especially 20 years later. And anybody who expects you to read something and then be able to write down word for word what it was before has got problems. Anyone who's going to make fun of you for pronouncing something based on reading it got problems. Now, what brought me to learn about the religion was the Sikh Empire. And the Sikh Empire is pronounced Sikh. That's something I recommend you look up. Another thing I highly recommend you look up. There is a lot of stuff I recommend you look up, isn't there? These people in this town who are hateful and bigotous. Do you think violence is going to help the situation? See, that's what I was trying to explain to Ben Cookie Daniels when I was still in Virginia. He thought that all racists should be physically harmed, but he also wanted to pretend that only white people can be racist. He's one of those Antifa folks who wants to talk about killing people. Killing, killing, killing. That's his answer to everything. When a black man assaulted a white man for holding a sign that he didn't agree with, well, I draw the line right fucking there. Just because you assign racism to him, kind of like the guy who was walking down the street with the Southern flag attached to his back as a cape. First of all, it's not the Southern flag. It's very specifically a battle flag of a very specific regiment. And it doesn't denote you as a racist, but it really does. It does denote racism specifically because although to a lot of people in the South it represents Southern pride, the Civil War, the secession from the nation, for every single state that seceded from the nation, they all had exactly one reason. One reason. And that's slavery. All of them decided that they were leaving the Union because President Abraham Lincoln was anti-slavery. The South already decided that if Abraham Lincoln won the election, that they were no longer Americans. Imagine if half of the United States today left because we had a little bit of a disagreement. Well, that's a major disagreement. These are human beings being kept as property. The Middle East was the most stable empire in the world when World War I started. The most stable empire in the world. They were more stable than Japan, more stable than Great Britain, more stable than China. Now, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, this divvied the Middle East up into a bunch of different regions that basically took different nations and divided them up into completely different nations. This is what happened to the Ottoman Empire. So then we've got people of different religions with different languages who are living in a country together that was decided by who? The French and the British. They got to decide what was going to happen to the Ottoman Empire after the war. So we locked people together who have been mortal enemies within certain borders. In each of those countries, individual countries, had a power grab. Warlords took over. In heavily populated areas, borders were swiftly set up, and warlords made sure that their people manned the post. This is the part where I get out. Try not to fuck up my back just opening up my hood. And try to start my vehicle with a wire tester. Wish me luck. There's a guy named Jeff Baldridge today. He made a post. It's a topographical map, sort of Chapel, Nebraska, all in blue. I typed back to him that I always thought Hades would be red. Since it's blue, that just means Chapel, Nebraska must have frozen over. Alright, let's make sure that, we get ourselves where we need to go. Tillamook Sporting Goods. Says it's slow charging, although I'm beginning to think that I'm going to need to go to the park, because although you guys don't think it's couth to tell you all these things, I gotta poop. You're welcome for sharing. Alright, here we go. I didn't make it out of there without running into anything. I was thinking, I've always been real good with words. Maybe I'll take that Jason Aldean song and I'll make my own version. Tell you what it's like for those of us who aren't popular in the small town. I'll tell you how it is for those of us who stick up for black people in small towns.
Turn left on 8th Street, then turn left onto Pacific Avenue. Take the next left onto Pacific Avenue.
How dare I stick up for Regina Buchter? How dare I stick up for Dakota Richmond? How dare I?
Take the next left.
How dare I stand up for
Left onto
Muslims
6th Street.
and claim that they're human beings too? How dare I? Now you get to see, I do get on and I rail against every one of the groups that I've stuck up
Take
for.
the next left onto Madrona Avenue, then turn left
Why
onto
it
6th
is
Street.
that I rail against them is pretty clear and simple.
Take the next left onto
They're not
6th
working
Street,
together.
Then turn right onto Pacific Avenue.
I get to hear the cries and screams from all of these groups about white people aren't doing enough. White people aren't doing enough. White people aren't doing enough. Jesus Christ, you know? People like me are running ourselves ragged,
In 1,000
fighting for the
feet,
rights
turn
of people
left
who
onto
don't
First
give a
Street.
fuck. And the folks there at the center market, none of them treat me like an animal. There was a couple of folks when I first got here that worked there that kind of looked at me funny and gave me a little bit of the, oh, you better not be one of them fucking junkies coming in here to steal my shit. But it didn't take them long to realize I wasn't there. Anything.
Take the second left onto Ocean Avenue, then turn left onto First Street.
Hope you don't mind, I'm going to end the video while I go in and cop a squat. I know you guys aren't going to be able to smell what it smells like, but I don't want you to be offended because you might be able to smell it if you think about it.
Turn left onto Goodspeed Place, then turn left onto First Street.
You might be surprised at the number of cockamamie fucked up excuses I've heard. Then again, you might not.
500 feet, turn left onto Del Monte Avenue.
It's funny.
Turn left onto Del Monte Avenue, then
Del
turn left
Monte
onto
is
First
after
Street.
Goodspeed Park, or Del Monte is where Goodspeed Park is. But it's also a block past Goodspeed Street.
Turn left onto First Street.
Also, that guy, Mr. Mike McKinster, that I tell you all about. He's got a street named after him in this town too. McKinster Avenue, named after his grandfather. All right. Actually, I'll leave it on as far as the battery goes. I don't think he should wear down quite that quickly. Good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and your sister's too, and no victim left behind.